All right, so I guess part two of the video, or another video, going to be taking this clutch and flywheel off the car. Tomorrow we'll be doing the slave cylinder elimination kit, so I'm going to combine those into one video, but I'm going to crawl under there and get this clutch off. Clutch and flywheel off, and also get the pilot bearing out, hopefully. So yeah, let's do it. All right, so going to get started on loosening these bolts. They need to be loosened in a certain way. You start from the middle, do the middle each. So we'll go in a left pattern, middle, 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 and then we go to the right of that, and then we do the right ones, and then we do this one, so all the way around. Sorry if that's a bad explanation, but that is what we are doing. So clutch alignment tool, don't forget to put that in. Okay, with all these bolts loose, this should just come off. That's the old pressure plate. Not sure how that's looking to you guys. This was apparently just replaced. I do see some heat there, so we're just gonna set that aside. And then this should come off. That's our stock clutch, which still has, it's, you know, it is what it is. Gotta replace it. And now we got our flywheel. So flywheel is held on Torx bits. They're T55s. Okay, so went and grabbed this bolt here, and I'm going to take one of the bolts that was in the flywheel pressure plate. But yeah, you're going to need to spin this enough. Alright, well I think I'm going to actually switch to using my air tools for this. At this point, I've left one in. You got to take this up enough so it doesn't fall on you. So crack it loose, work it off by hand, the last one. Just undo this by hand. It could fall on you. It is aligned on a pin, but I still just want to keep one hand ready to keep this thing from falling on me. So that is the goal. And it's just held in by a pin, so if I knock this loose a little bit, work it loose a little bit, it's just going to come right off. These are about 30 pounds. Okay, it's coming loose now. That's definitely not the pin it aligns on, so I gotta be careful. It's gonna come loose any second. There it goes. Got it off. Stock dual mass. flywheel is off. Okay, so I went and grabbed my pilot bearing puller, seat it all the way in the back, and spread it out. Should be grabbing. All right, and now I'm gonna take a couple wrenches. Alright, that should be on there pretty good. Take the slide hammer out. Yeah, that worked. Got it out. Old pilot bearings out. Get to put in the new one, and then probably finish back up with the rest of our adventures tomorrow. So that's done. Cool. Sick. Alright, so back onto the car. Gonna be installing the new pilot bearing that came with the clutch kit. So basically I've got a hammer, small hammer, gonna tap in the sides, and then I've got a 15 mil socket that is roughly the same size. So I'm gonna be pressing this in. Okay, that's true. One side smaller, so you know there. Okay, now that is fully seated. Let's check, make sure. Give it a couple of taps. Make sure it's fully seated. Pretty sure it is. So we're fully seated in, and then we can actually move on to putting the flywheel and the clutch in here. So new pilot bearing. Awesome. Okay, so you'll see on the motor here, there's a pin. There'll be a hole that corresponds on the flywheel. We got to put that, align that with the flywheel. Went ahead and disassembled the clutch. Same process as the transmission drop. You're going to be undoing the bolts in the same exact order that you put them on in, to relieve pressure evenly. So now I'm going to take my flywheel, and I'm going to try to put this on and align it with the pin. I'm not sure if it's aligned or not, but, you know, try and get up there, make sure it is. Okay, so that's aligned. Now I've got to take a mallet, any sort of mallet here, and use a harder end and tap. Pretty sure that's it. Alright, next step is going to be torquing on the Torx bolts here, T55s. So we're going to basically hand tighten these bolts in. We're gonna make sure we use blue thread locker on each of these, just to make sure nothing comes loose. All right, to tighten these, you're gonna have to jam a crescent wrench up in there. So that we slide into the pilot bearing. So there's the pilot bearing that we just installed. Oh yeah, hold on. Oh, it's still recording. Cool. That's cool. Nice. And then we slide that in, and then press that forward. And now our clutch is aligned. Pressure plate will press this up back to where it needs to be. And then you pull it out. Yep. And this only goes on one way. So yeah. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, it only has one way it goes on, so it's gonna take a couple of tries. So that's not that one. That's probably that one. Yeah, that's it. Just make sure.
I would keep that in.
Oh yeah.
Until you bolt.
Until I torque it down completely.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that clutch alignment tool is pressed in all the way while seating this through.
Bolts look like they are in the right spot.
Yep. All the pins are now seated, and I can start torquing. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, just to make sure that you put blue thread locker on the pressure plate bolts. Do not be like me and realize that you need to do that after you put the transmission back in the car. All right. So I'm just gonna do hand tighten first. All these bolts.
Do we have the size you need right there?
Yeah, it's a 12. And then there's a specific torquing sequence that we need to do when we actually bring this down. Well, we torque all the bolts down in a specific pattern. So middle, 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 to the right of middle, to the right of middle, to the right of middle, then this one, then this one, and then this one. You do that at 11 foot-pounds on the first pass, and then 29 on the second pass. So these are all hand tightened now. 11 foot-pounds. I just heard it click too. There we go. There's, make sure. Okay. Okay. What's up?
I'll have them up above.
All right, so those are all torqued. Those are all torqued to 11 foot-pounds now. Now we're going up to 29 foot-pounds. 1, 2.
The more perpendicular, more resistance you're gonna have to put on.
And okay. Clutch is installed. You can take this out now. Fucking clutch alignment tool. It's a bitch. Get out. Oh, there we go. You in there. Woo! Clutch is in. Fuel.
Swing.
All right. So I'm gonna begin taking off this slave cylinder here. Right now I'm taking off this clip here. This holds the clutch. This is the clutch line. I think I gotta pop it off the top first. Yeah, almost. We're not reusing this, so no worries.
This is that the thing with the teeth that you.
Then we gotta undo a T27, and hopefully, there we go. So yeah, that's good to go. Basically, you just pull the clutch line off, and then that's it. Pull this off. Should pull off from the slave cylinder, come back around here, and then take that off. Hold on. It's not wanting to come off. There it is. So it took a little bit of pressure to get it off from the inside of the bell housing. Take this out, and also, well, the rubber grommet can come out too, and then swing around on this side. Got this slave cylinder can now just come right off, and now we're ready to unbolt the front cover. All right, so we gotta undo, what are these, 10 mils? No, these are probably 12 mils. And then there's the 4 bolts at the bottom are sealing bolts. Yeah, so I'm gonna start from a, doesn't really matter, honestly. I'm gonna start from this side and work my way in a circle. There we go. Just gonna break them loose and then take them off by hand. So also, another thing to add here while you're doing this is to make sure on the bottom 4 bolts, those are sealing bolts. You have to put them in the exact same place. So do make sure you know where they came out of, what hole, and put them in the exact same spot. Make sure to also apply thread sealer to them when reinstalling, and you guys should be good to go. Okay, now I'm gonna try and get this off. There's a little tab you can reach around behind here to pry this off with, not too bad. And then the front transmission cover comes right off. Ugh. All right. I'm gonna be sliding that over, putting a couple of key bolts in so this lines up. Thread lock, pivot ball. So when installing this pillow ball here, there's a certain thickness of shims you need to install. This all boils down to what you got as your stack height measurement when you before you put your clutch in. My stack height was 82 millimeters, so you have to take that number according to Z1's manual. You take 82 times that by -2/3 and then add 61.5 to that. What I got was around 72 mil for shim thickness, so that's what I installed here. So now we gotta seat the throwout bearing to this piece that goes along with your clutch fork. So this is going to face this side of the bearings will be facing the transmission. This side will be facing the front of the car, like so. And then we're going to need to use a hammer and mallet to get this fully seated. Or we could probably just press it in. I do have a press over there actually. Just thought about that. See if I can press it in. Got this set up in my press. You could also do this with a mallet and a couple pieces of wood. So, but since I have a press, I'm just gonna use that. Okay, now we're gonna take the provided grease and lube up the splines as well as this collar here that the throwout bearing rides along. Also going to add grease on these two tabs so when the clutch fork is on here it doesn't make excess noise. So I'm gonna do that now. Do also make sure to get a good layer of grease on the pillow ball as well. Also add some onto the ball as well. Okay, so now got our clutch fork and this this tab here. The fingers and like let's say like that's the dude's head, and the finger is gonna face the same way the clutch fork is facing. Oh, almost. I need to get the head of this tab in. That needs to go in as well. Yeah, that worked. Just kind of press it in and then should be able to rotate this. Yep, so that's in now. Now we are good to go. So that is installed. All right, so I went ahead and installed this spring onto the throwout bearing. So basically I've just got to pull up these tabs. I'm going to pull up these tabs and one step at a time. So yeah, this side, got that side, and then this side. I guess it's a good thing that this is hard to do. Yep, okay. So now the throwout bearing is installed to the clutch fork. This should actuate nice and smooth with the grease we put on there. Put the fork through that hole and wiggle that onto your shaft there, giggity, and find that pivot ball. We're just gonna give her a good smack, and here we go. That should be installed now. So yes, clutch fork is now installed to the car. There shouldn't be too much up and down motion if you installed that correctly, so this is good to go now. So yeah, just gonna undo these two bolts here and here. Okay, so now we've got this bracket that's going to mount up right here, and there's 4 washers on either side of these bolts. One needs to go on the inside and the outside of the bracket. Does this have a... All right, back under the car. Got this bracket installed. Torqued these down to, I believe, what was it, 30?
Yeah.
30 foot-pounds on either side. I couldn't fit the other set of washers in there, but we're putting this transmission back up in the car. So I'm going to throw this on a time lapse and do the thing. All right, well, so here goes the time lapse of the install of the transmission. So make sure also when you're installing, when you do take that front main cover off, there might be some oil that drips out. I had to take my transmission back out to clean that oil and put thread locker back onto the pressure plate bolts. But yeah, sorry about the bad view here. As you can see, it's taken us quite a long time to get it back in. This is going to definitely be the hardest part of this project. It's just getting it back into the car, but it did take us quite a long time until I remembered that there are alignment pins on the block. So make sure that you are using those alignment pins to your advantage. Right as soon as we paid attention to those, we got the transmission installed. But just keep at it, don't give up, it'll all work out. I'm gonna put together this cylinder here. Yeah, so basically gonna be threading this end into the slave cylinder. I'm gonna take this clevis and put it onto the end here. You're gonna want to make sure you use some thread locker. Okay, now put it on. Alright, so I actually just use a 12. Sorry, yeah, 12 and a 13 on this to tighten that up. So now we can take this under the car and get started on installing the slave elimination kit. I'm going to be taking this side here, take this bolt off. We're going to put one of these washers aside for the spring. Large washer with a hole in it. We're gonna have one of those on this side. Stick that through the clutch fork, and then we're gonna put this smaller washer on the other side without a hole, and just put this nut on. I'm gonna also put some thread locker on here. Just gonna hand tighten that on. Okay, looks like a 13. So we're gonna unthread this side until it meets up with roughly with this hole here. You're gonna take this M8 bolt, and we're using 2 of the washers provided to space it from its transmission. Put some thread locker on that. Get a 14 mil socket. Gonna take off this starter motor bolt. Then we're gonna take this spring, gonna dangle it. Gonna dangle that spring down there. Okay, so retrieve your wiring harness bracket. Put this washer on your on your bolt. Put it on there. All Gucci. Thread that on. Okay, and also going to align this hole here. I think actually we need to put this spring in that hole before we tighten it down. Fucking, yep, that's definitely what we need to do. And so then we're gonna actually attach that side first, and then stretch this over. Ooh. Ow. Fuck. Just hit myself in the face really fucking hard. I am bleeding. Okay, so I hit myself in the face pretty freaking good there. That wasn't that fun, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, got it. Without hitting myself in the face. That's dope. Okay, so I'm gonna do here, I gotta tighten this to, I believe, 22 foot-pounds this here. This needs to go to 35. I'm gonna use this comically large extension. So right here I am undoing the slave cylinder. In the Z1 manual you need to have a certain amount of slack. I'm actually pulling back on the slave right now to check for that. You ideally need, I believe it is 1 millimeter, or just above that, of slack before the bearing hits the springs on the pressure plate. So that's what I'm setting up right now. Also, in Z1's manual, it's stated that when you do, roughly every 3,000 miles an oil change, you do need to take that nut off to your right side there that is held on with a bolt, and you basically just take it off and loosen it about a half turn, extend it so that, to account for the clutch plate wear. So that's about it. Okay, so now we gotta remove the clutch line and install the new one. Alright, it is the next day again. Had to stop by the AutoZone and grab a wrench for this project. I needed this 10 mil wrench here for the that clutch line. I did not want to round it with I was trying to use an open-ended wrench and it just wasn't going, so didn't want to risk it. So just got this, and now we're gonna continue on the underside of the car. So yeah, there we go. Did also do a kind of an exhaust repair because I did break this stud off. This stud broke off, so I had to drill a hole. Picked up some actual like M8 like higher grade bolts, but this is just kind of a mock-up for that. So we got a way of attaching our exhaust again, at least. That's good. Okay, so now that I have the proper tools here, I am going to attach my my clutch line to the new slave cylinder. So this takes a 14 mil, and we'll just snug that up there. Gonna grab this guy. You're gonna want to make sure you grab this because you're gonna round off this clutch line if you try and use a open-ended wrench on here. Okay, that is completely loose. I believe Yep, okay, so actually no clutch fluid came out of that top line. I'm gonna set this aside and drain this. Now that I've drained that old line, set it aside, we're gonna take this here. Let's figure out what size this is before we go stick it up in there. Giggity. Alright, well, it's a 19 mil, but I cannot find my 19 mil, so I'm gonna attempt to use this. So we'll use that and try to get this tightened up as best as we can. Yeah. And then that. Oh, okay, I see. I see. This is my repair. I'm gonna save this clip, the clip that came with the well, I'm gonna save it and we're gonna put it in properly. So in this clip, we filled up the system with the .4 brake fluid. I got my buddy up top making sure it is kept topped off. While you're bleeding the system, that can go down quite rapidly, the level in your reservoir, so be sure to be on top of that. You do not want any more air going into the system, so just keep patient with this. Just have your buddy up top, keep that topped off, and pump the pedal. As he's pumping, you can bleed the system and get any excess air out of the system as much as possible. Do be patient with it. It does take a while. And, flush it as much as you can, honestly. So just be patient, take your time with it, and you'll have a good working clutch in the end of it. So this, after you bleed, we need to take this bolt off and make our final adjustment to the clutch. This is the same adjustment you're going to be making for regular oil changes. Just to make sure your clutch pedal is actually not too much clutch pedal play. So there we go. I actually adjusted it properly the first go around. Okay, I'm going to torque this bolt down to 20 foot-pounds. Okay. So it's torqued down, adjusted, and now all I need to do, there's a couple of dust covers too that I need to put on. Okay. This goes. Alright, so, oh man. So, just got done putting the Z back together. Kind of skipped ahead after bleeding. Basically, bled the system. After you do that, just bolt everything back on and torque it to spec, and you're good to go. Pretty simple. And yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna lower this, call it a night, probably take it for a drive. I don't know, it's late, so it's together hopefully, so gonna lower it down and take it for a spin. If you watched up until this point, you are a legend. Have a nice night, day, wherever you are. Peace out.